Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Lami Ali. Shagun Ajayi is a sign language interpreter. You can watch this news on our various social media platforms displayed on your screen. Now let's begin with the headlines. President Tinubu launches campaign to close gender gap in Africa, tagged "We Are Equal." INEC announces dates for resumption of continuous voter registration exercise in Edo and Ondo states. Rescue workers searching for missing people after flash floods in Indonesia. The 11th meeting of the Federal Executive Council this Monday has been suspended to continue tomorrow, Tuesday. The meeting, chaired by President Bola Tinubu, which lasted over 4 hours, was suspended due to the large number of memos before the Council and needed to be thoroughly considered. State House correspondent reports that before the commencement of the meeting, the President swore in 2 new commissioners to represent Ogun and Osun states on the board of the National Population Commission, NPC. The Council also observed a minute's silence for deceased former Council members who passed on recently. The departed are former Minister of Education, Professor Fabian Usuji, under Obasanjo administration, and Dr. Ogbonnaya Nu, who served as Minister of Science and Technology, as well as Innovation in the immediate past administration of former President Buhari. However, after the longest meeting so far under the administration, Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris announced the continuation of the meeting Tuesday.
This Federal Executive Council meeting is not yet concluded. Council meeting will continue tomorrow. Therefore, there will be no press briefing today. A lot of far-reaching decisions are being taken, and the conclusions will be made available to you tomorrow.
Now, it is a major leap forward for women in Africa and their shared aspiration for gender equity following the launch of the We Are Equal campaign of the Organization of African First Ladies for Development in Abuja. President Bola Tinubu, while formally launching the hashtag We Are Equal campaign, says his administration is ready to work with relevant stakeholders towards a future where no Nigerian child is excluded from quality education, irrespective of gender.
Believing and working hard, we will follow. Yes, we are equal.
The campaign is a project of the Organization of African First Ladies for Development, a float aimed at driving gender mainstreaming and women empowerment, already launched in about 15 countries across the continent. The campaign focuses on health, sexual violence, and other different aspects of life in Nigeria. The campaign takes its firm roots in the vision of the First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, who in 2007 established the first alternative high school for girls in Lagos to offer another opportunity to young out-of-school women.
An alternative high school provides another opportunity for students to achieve their aspiration and demonstration to the belief that it is never too late to pursue your dreams.
The focus of the campaign in Nigeria and its expected role in building a future where gender equity will be a reality drew the applause of other African First Ladies. Appreciation and expression of commitments towards the campaign also came from Education Minister Professor Tahir Mamman and development partners. Now, ahead of the Edo and Ondo governorship elections, INEC has announced dates for the resumption of the continuation of voter registration exercise in the 2 states. Mie Ogidi reports on this and other issues as INEC meets political parties in Abuja.
The twin brothers by name, Edo and Ondo states on the political news again as they set to renew the leadership September and November respectively, and INEC meeting leaders of the political parties on series of issues. First, no voter will be deprived of participating.
As the elections in the two states approach, the Commission has decided to resume the continuous voter registration from Monday, 27th May 2024 to Wednesday, 5th June 2024, from 9 in the morning to 3 p.m. daily, including the weekend. There will be no online pre-registration option in the two states because of time constraint. Again, we encourage those who have not collected their PVCs in the two states to seize the opportunity to do so.
As the voters prepare for the polls, another reminder from INEC.
Let me therefore seize this opportunity to once again reiterate to party leaders the need to continue to maintain law and order during the electioneering process and beyond.
Just a quick one on two issues. First, the electoral violence that led to the suspension of by-elections in Kano and Enugu states sorted out, and a new date for the conclusion will be soon announced, INEC chairman confirmed. And also, INEC has received notification on the conduct of 4 by-elections, though no date yet. Mie Ogede, NTA News.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, says Nigeria is Canada's largest trade partner in Africa and remains committed in strengthening trade ties given the ongoing implementation of the AfCFTA. Yusuf Tuga was speaking when he paid a working visit to Canada, where he engaged with various critical stakeholders in furtherance of Nigeria's improved bilateral relations with Canada. A statement by the media aides to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Al-Qasim Abdul Qadir, says during his meeting with the Canadian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Melanie Joly, both countries resolved to take steps to finalize the outstanding MOUs, including the bilateral foreign investment protection and promotion agreements ahead of the Canadian trade mission to Nigeria in June 2024. The two ministers discussed regional security in Africa, and Canada offered to lend a hand in strengthening stability and democracy in West Africa. They agreed to work closely on a range of regional and global issues, such as seeking peaceful resolutions to conflicts, to multilateral reform, and countering disinformation. Also, Yusuf Tuga met with the Canada-Africa Parliamentary Association, where he discussed Canada-Nigeria relations and regional African issues, and the minister pointed out the benefits of Nigeria's 4D foreign policy thrust and ongoing developments in ECOWAS and the implementation of the AfCFTA. His meeting with the Parliamentary Secretary, Robert Oliphant, availed him the opportunity to explore more partnerships on multilateral reform, African security, education, healthcare, trade and investments, particularly in the areas of mining, metals refining, energy and digital economy. The Foreign Affairs Minister visited the senior leadership of Carleton University as well as the Institute for African Affairs to expand Nigeria's relations, as well as met with the Canadian Parliamentary Secretary on Export, Promotion, International Trade and Economic Development, Maninder Sidhu, on bilateral trade relationship between the two countries. Rescue workers are still searching for missing people after flash floods and cold lava flow from a volcano in western Indonesia. The flooding caused by hours of heavy rain was said to have inundated roads, homes and mosques, while volcanic ash and large rocks rumbled down Mount Marapi. Comfort Fashion brings us up to speed with the developments there.
The death toll from flash flood and cold lava flow from a volcano in western Indonesia over the weekend has risen to 44, with 15 more missing. Rescuers are still searching for 15 missing people in 2 districts of Agam and Tanah Datar. That's where the host hit by the flood and home to hundreds of thousands of people. Cold lava is volcanic material such as ash, sand and pebbles carried down a volcano slope by rain. Residents said they had rocks thundering down roads outside their homes when the heavy rains struck.
Kendala di lapangan dengan
National Disaster Mitigation Agency confirmed that about 71 houses were completely swept away and 125 houses were moderately damaged. 16 bridges and 2 mosques were also damaged in Tana Delta, as were 20 hectares, equivalent of 50 acres of rice fields. Meanwhile, the local government has set up evacuation centers and emergency posts in several areas of Agam and Tana Delta. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
Still on climate issues, European Union countries gave their final approval on Monday to allow cut carbon dioxide emissions from trucks, which will require mostly new heavy-duty vehicles sold in the EU from 2040 to be emission-free. The law will enforce a 90% cut in emissions in CO2 emissions from new heavy-duty vehicles by 2040. That means manufacturers will have to sell a large share of fully CO2-free trucks, including electric vehicles and those running on hydrogen fuel, to offset any remaining sales of new CO2-emitting vehicles in 2040. Most trucks on Europe's roads currently run on diesel, which reduces greenhouse gas emissions and air pollutants linked to lung cancer and respiratory diseases. Heavy-duty vehicles produce a quarter of Europe's road transport emission. Truck manufacturers will also have to reduce the CO2 emissions of their fleets by 45% by 2030, replacing an existing 30% target and 65% by 2035. From 2030, 90% of new urban buses sold in the EU will be required to have zero emissions, rising to 100% in 2035. European Autos Group, ACEA, has described the EU policy as the world's most ambitious and said the targets will only be met if governments match them with a rapid rollout of 50,000 truck-suitable public electric charging points by 2030. The EU's truck CO2 policy has now won approval from EU countries and the EU Parliament, meaning it can be passed into law. Now, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Wang Wenbin has welcomed the United Nations General Assembly's resolution to urge the Security Council to reconsider Palestine's bid for full membership as the world body. Chukunonso Mwaboise reports.
During a press briefing in Beijing on Monday, Wang said China supports the Security Council in reconsidering Palestine's application for joining the United Nations as soon as possible, in accordance with the requirements of the resolution of the General Assembly. He urged the relevant countries not to continue to stand on the opposite side of the international community, international morality, and human conscience, and stop setting obstacles for Palestine to join the United Nations. The spokesperson said the latest resolution gives Palestinians new rights and privileges and reflects the will of the international community. He added that these special arrangements are a remedy for the long-standing historical injustice suffered by Palestine and a correction for the abuse of veto power by the United States, adding that the resolution makes it clear that the relevant arrangements are exceptions and do not constitute a precedent. 143 states voted in favor of the resolution, while 9 voted against it and 25 countries abstained, which saw the document being adopted. While only the Security Council can grant membership, the move provides Palestine with certain additional privileges. The United States voted against the resolution, joined by Israel, Argentina, Hungary, amongst others. Last month, the U.S. vetoed a resolution on full membership at the UN Security Council. If passed, the move would have effectively recognized a Palestinian state, with Palestine having held observer status at the world body since 2012. Chukunonso Mwaboise, NTN News.
Thousands of Georgians protest Thousands of Georgian protesters stand firm in the center of Tbilisi, vowing not to back down in their fight against a Russian-styled foreign agents bill a day before it's due to be adopted. This is despite government officials' warning of arrests, as reported by Comfort Fashion.
The Foreign Agents Bill has sparked a political crisis amid concerns it is modeled on laws used by Vladimir Putin to crack down on the media in Russia. And if this law is passed, it would make it harder for Georgia to join the EU. The Georgians believed the proposed law will threaten press and civic freedoms. Crowds had surrounded the Parliament building all night, intent on stopping members of Parliament from voting on laws that demonstrators believe will put Georgia on the path to dictatorship and backed in the embrace of Moscow. The Georgian security forces moved in shortly after dawn this morning and succeeded in clearing one entrance to the Parliament. A number of European leaders have warned the proposed bill is incompatible with European norms and values. The governing Georgian Dream Party argues the bill will boost transparency of foreign funding. But protesters fear it could be used to crush critical voices ahead of parliamentary elections later this year. Georgia was granted EU candidate status last December, and polls suggest about 80% of the population is in favor of joining. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
Time now to take a break on the news. Do stay. You're welcome back. In Tunisia, demonstrators call for the release of arrested opposition figures deemed critical of the country's president and for free elections. The rally was organized by the National Salvation Front Opposition Alliance in Tunisia, with demonstrators chanting slogans while lifting Tunisian flags. Comfort Fashion has the story.
Tunisian authorities ordered the arrest of 2 political commentators over critical comments. Several others have also been arrested for criticizing the state of Tunisia on television. Those arrested were detained under Decree 54, which punishes the production and dissemination of false news, and this sprouted the demonstration by the National Salvation Front. The protesters chanted, "Stop the police state" and "Down, down with Kai's side." Veteran politician and NSF co-founder Ahmed Najib Chebi condemned what he called a freedom-killing system. Chebi said the rally was organized to demand fair conditions for free elections, and if their action between now and the eve of the elections does not succeed in changing things, they would be obliged at that time to boycott. The Decree 54 was signed by President Kais Saied in September 2022, and it has been criticized by journalists and opposition figures who say it has been used to stifle dissent. Since it came into force, more than 60 journalists, lawyers, and opposition figures have been prosecuted, according to the National Union of Tunisian Journalists. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
All hope is not lost for Nigeria's quest to develop a verifiable national demography through generated census data, as the National Assembly is set to work with the executive to ensure the pending national headcount project gets a new date, with commitments of a hitch-free and transparent exercise. Ulushi Adiabo reports that member of the Senate Committee on Population and National Identity, Senator Duquette Blanc, gave the hint at a retreat organized by the National Population Commission for newly sworn-in commissioners and management staff.
It's been 18 years from the last national head count. The need for a reliable and acceptable population and housing census for the nation has become a continuous conversation by population managers.
The importance of the 2020 round of census.
Participants at these retreats are holding conversations on actualizing NPC's mandate, and this member of the Senate Committee on Population and National Identity is optimistic of a proclamation date on census to be made soon.
The 10th Senate has a good relationship with the executive. I want to assure you that as members of the Senate Committee, we are representing the entire National Assembly on this issue. And the feeling of National Assembly is that Nigeria should be able to come out with a more acceptable demographic data. These are very, very important in economic planning.
What I want to appeal to Nigerians, once the date is given, we solicit their cooperation. We can do a census for Nigeria that will give us data that is very robust, very, very comprehensive, right to even community level.
And we'll also look at other organs of the National Population Commission. We're in charge of population and development in the country. So we're all looking at how we are operating and what we need to do to improve our operations and also to ensure service delivery to Nigerians.
Planners of the census project say with a meticulous methodology and all materials needed to remunerate all citizens almost procured, preparations for a first digital census are more than 85% completed and promising of verifiable outcomes. Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
Now, the federal government has pledged to collaborate with scientific organizations to improve cancer diagnosis and treatment in the country. Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Tunji Alausa, disclosed this at the coordinated meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, to sensitize African countries to new trends in cancer care in Abuja. Kunle Adeye reports.
They are from more than 40 African countries deliberating on effective management of cancer. The International Atomic Energy Agency, through its RAF 6060 project, ruled out negative statistics that leaves Africa lagging behind in cancer treatment. The agency is unequivocal that adopting nuclear technology will introduce a rebirth in the continent's health sector and help achieve Africa Agenda 2063, which targets prosperity for the continent.
About 75% of the populations in Africa have no access to diagnosis and treatment of cancer. And this is unacceptable. And we know that 20 countries in Africa, as we stand today, do not have a single radiotherapy center, that they have to take patients outside so that they can be able to be treated.
The Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare says its policies and programs align with the vision of International Atomic Energy Agency.
I'm proud to affirm the unwavering commitment of the Nigerian government to tackle the rising threat of cancer within our borders. We recognize the critical needs for strategic partnership with international organizations like International Atomic Energy Agency to strengthen our capacity and capabilities in addressing this complex challenge.
The coordinating meeting of RAP 6060, which is the first of its kind that is holding in this country, is a mere testimony that Nigeria is a vital ground and we have the right sets of leaders to actually advance not only cancer care, but generally healthcare.
The organizers and participants unanimously agree that enhancing capacity of personnel actively involved in cancer treatment must be a priority. Kunle Adeye, NTA News.
Sports Minister rallies support for Finidi George after NFF unveiling. Details of this and more with Austin Demodu from the Sports Desk.
The Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, wants Nigerians to give maximum support to the newly appointed coach of the Nigerian Super Eagles, Finidi George, for him to succeed on his new assignment. The minister stated this while unveiling the new Super Eagles coach at the Media Center at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja.
I'm glad at the level of calmness that greeted the appointment of Finidi George. When you take a good decision, you find the reaction very calm.
So we don't interfere in what you are going to do. We take an oath, and you make a promise that you are going to do it to the best of your ability, and you are going to give us the best for Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Finidi George, says he hopes to meet the expectations of Nigerians by running a result-oriented program that will bring glory to the national team by infusing local players to the pool of current Eagle squad where necessary. This follows his official unveiling as the new manager of the national team in Abuja.
We just have to focus on areas I think they can help us. You can't overhaul a team that came out second in the last AFCON.
The Renaissance Berkane of Morocco defeated Cairo Giants Zamalek of Egypt 2-1 in the African Confederations Cup first leg final at the Municipal Stadium on Sunday, ahead of the return leg in a week's time. The return leg in Cairo next week will see Berkane, winners of 2020 and 2022, seeking a third success in the continent's secondary club competition. On a sad note, Nigerians, including former Super Eagles captain and coach Austin Eguavoen, have been commiserating with the family of former Super Eagles winger Tijani Babangida, who survived a ghastly motor accident along Kaduna Zaria Highway, which claimed the life of his one-year-old son Fadil.
We wish him to come back stronger and stronger. It's not going to be easy, but definitely it is something he has to overcome very quick.
Babangida's wife was said to have lost an eye due to severe injury to her face, while he also lost his brother Ibrahim in the accident. With Sports Update, I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
Let's now check Tuesday's weather forecast for Nigeria and some other major cities around the world. And that's a wrap on the news at this time on NTA International. We thank you for watching. I'm Lami Ali. Shegun Ajayi has been the sign language interpreter. Do have a good evening.